What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to Down to the Wire. I'm Brian Costa.
I'm Tyler Stringfellow.
And we hope you guys are having a great day. Thank you guys for joining in on the show. It's been a little while since, both me and Tyler have had a show together. Tyler, what's it been like 5, 6, 7 months or so?
Yeah, it's been a long ass time. Let me tell you, it's been a
Yeah,
while. You look good though. You look good. You've been working out. You look good.
yeah, man. I've been trying to hit the gym a little bit, maybe a little bit to my own demise, but we'll see.
Nice.
But it's good, dude. I'm chilling. I'm trying to get back on my schedule because I'm going back to Bryant now. I'm doing grad school
Yeah.
stuff down there. I'm looking to continue the show in some aspects. So I'm glad you could
Good
join me
boy.
today, man. We
Yeah.
finally
Thanks for having me.
absolutely, dude. We finally got your face on the logo too, by the way.
Hey, it's
Yeah,
about time.
dude, it
It's
took long
about
enough.
time.
It would have been better had we done it, before we graduated college and we weren't
Nah,
in the same place anymore. But you know what? Better late than never. It
it's the
better
thought
late.
that counts, Brian.
Exactly, man. So I'm glad that you're here with us. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to break down Ezekiel Elliott signing with the New England Patriots. We're going to talk about the first preseason game the Pats had. Tyler was actually at that game, so we'll get a little bit of his perspective. And then we'll talk some MLB news. We're going to break down Orioles announcer Kevin Brown being reinstated by the team following his controversial suspension. And then talk about Chris Sale making his return to the Red Sox and whether they have enough for that postseason push. To end the show, we're going to talk about the Philadelphia 76ers and the fallout that is going on with Joel Embiid and James Harden. It is a dumpster fire going on there right now. I love the looks Tyler's given. He's really amping this thing up. So, Tyler, before we get into this, I want to let the people know how they can find the show. Tyler, I know this is usually your favorite portion of the show, and I will let you, in a sense, shout out the show, but this was part of the surprise that I had meant to just tell you about when we started this thing out. So let's air this thing out, all right?
I'll take a look. Oh my God.
If you're not following down to the wire, down dot to the wire. And if you're not following at down dot to the wire, my man, what the fuck are you doing? Follow that account. You can get all your sports news right there. You don't have to follow anything else other than that fucking app. It's amazing. It's amazing. You got good content, good people. Oh my god. Oh my god. But if you don't follow it, I'll find you.
I was
Send me that.
I got you. Do you
That was
remember?
the night. That was the night
remember
I
that?
found. That was the night I found 4 people named Tyler. And we all took a picture.
Oh my god, that was from if you couldn't tell, that was from our last night of college. Tyler,
Yeah,
I got
it's senior week.
Oh my god, Tyler, do you remember that video ever being taken?
No. No.
Oh my god, it was.
I had
I will-
one too many Bud Lights.
You're 21, man. You're 21. You can say whatever you want. Oh my god, man, that was a crazy night. I mean,
That was
did you go to bed that
hilarious.
night?
Yeah, I did. I knew I was like, I worked too hard to look like trash for my graduation. I was like, it would kind of be like to me, it felt like a disservice to my parents and people to kind of
Nah.
see me really, really tired and hungover. I mean,
Yeah.
I still was hungover and you could tell, but it wasn't as bad as my other roommates. It was like falling asleep at graduation. And I'm like, dude, I'm not doing that.
Dude,
So,
that night was
just a little.
ridiculous. So you're lucky you slept. I didn't. I woke up on
Yeah.
Friday at 9:30. So Friday the 19th, graduation was the 20th. I didn't go to bed until on the 20th. It was 7:30 p.m. So I
Yep.
was just up for probably close to 36 hours. I was not even on graduation. I wasn't even hungover on graduation, but I was so freaking sleep deprived. I was like you saw me. We were talking to
Yeah.
each other on graduation day. Like we went up to go use the bathroom, and then the governor was speaking. We were just bored out of our minds. So
Bored.
we literally left. We left the graduation.
We saw you and me saw James, the DPS officer, when we were
Yes.
coming out of the bathroom.
Yeah, we did that, and then we just hung out by the snack cart area. We were just
This is
I was a zombie that day. Not
zombie.
because of drinking, but just I literally was having micro sleep, and I was just nodding off during the speeches. It was terrible.
Yeah, it was bad. I was so sleep deprived, and also the ending of the ceremony was so anticlimactic.
Oh my god.
Dude was like, all right, you guys are graduated, like, have good luck getting home, stuff like that. And I'm like, you do the cap thing. We didn't do that. We didn't get to toss it.
There was like no one tossed it. I think people were just like scared to do it. I was like, why? Like, we graduated college. We can do whatever the fuck we want.
Yeah, but aren't they're supposed to say it? Like, that's part of graduation.
But that whole thing was like messed up. Like, I have some thoughts on that whole speech and just how that went. It was so
that
bad,
video was hilarious, dude. You got to send me that video.
I got you, man. All right. So in case you missed what Tyler said, we are available on all streaming platforms. You can follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, more. Tyler, take it away with the Instagram.
You can follow it at Down Dot to the Wire. You heard it here first. I'll repeat myself if you didn't hear me. It's Down Dot to the Wire. There you go. If you're not following, what are you doing? Come on, get your head in the game. Like the video said, all your sports news, palm of your hand. There you go.
And just remember, if you don't follow, Tyler will find you. So
apparently,
just remember that.
Apparently, I'll find you.
So, all right. To start things off, though, the big news, at least around New England right now, is Ezekiel Elliott, formerly of the Dallas Cowboys. Feed Zeke is going to be happening in New England. He's actually going to be our backup running back behind Ramondre Stevenson. Looks like he's going to be the third down guy. Tyler, you seem really excited about this news. I know that you're pretty surprised, though, that some sports guys in Boston aren't so surprised about this news. Let me know your thoughts.
Yeah, I was listening to 98.5 the other day on the radio. I don't believe it was Zolak. I think it was two of the other guys. I don't know the names off the top of my head. But all I know is they were like, you could have gotten a guy like Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook this. Dalvin Cook's got more juice left in his leg. Dalvin Cook fits your offense better. He doesn't fit the offense better. This is an offense that you finally get an offensive coordinator, right? And Bill O'Brien. You got a quarterback that's worked together, a quarterback that's accurate and that is smart. He can't throw the ball as far as Mahomes and Anthony Richardson, but the guy is smart with his decisions when he has the right guy coaching behind him, which is what he needed. But so what's a quarterback do? He drops back in the pocket. You need somebody to pass protect. Stevenson's great at that, but you don't want him back there the entire time taking those hits if he's your number one back. He's your number one back, no questions about it. You bring in a guy like Zeke that's been in Dallas with receivers, with a quarterback that drops back consistently. He's there to protect them. I think they signed Zeke because they needed another running back. They needed a spot to fill up. But they get a veteran that's, rush for a ton of yards, that's seen a lot of defenses, but it's also pass blocks. Like he does that in his career. A guy like Dalvin Cook, not as much, and he's a little smaller. I feel like the Patriots needs or Zeke Elliott more than Dalvin Cook could have brought to the team. You know what I'm trying to say? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
I like the Zeke signing, and it brings a little bit of veteran leadership to that backfield. Stevenson's only in what, his second or third year. Like, he's still young. He needs a guy back there to help him out. And I think that's it. That's their guy. I like the signing. Love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, no, I'm very high on the signing as well. I think that the thing people are kind of getting up in arms about, probably, Tyler, is the contract, because it is a 1-year deal worth up to $6 million. Now, there are some stipulations in that. I think it's a $3.3 million base. And I think as long as he makes the week 1 roster, he'll make at least $4 million. Now, I don't know what he's going to have to do to get to that full 6, but that is something that, some people were wondering about, whether that really is worth his value at this point in his career. I know that, he hasn't been the same guy over the past couple of seasons. So, you can definitely argue with that, but, as long as he's not like that workhorse back that he was in Dallas, I think that you could still use him in some good moments sparingly. And the other thing too is that this role, like you said, isn't all about just getting Ezekiel Elliott in to be your workhorse back. It's to take some of the bullets away from Ramondre Stevenson. Because last year I looked it up, he had 279 touches in total. So like he was just getting worked out there. And for a guy like that, who's as promising as him, you're going to work him into the ground, and he just won't be able to. Just like
Zeke.
Exactly.
Just like Zeke.
So you need to have a guy back there that can take some of those blows, especially down by the goal line. Mm-hmm. I mean, I saw some people
ground and pound, baby. Ground and pound. Zeke Elliott.
I saw some people saying it. I think that Zeke in New England could have a very similar year to what LeGarrette Blount did here a couple of years ago, where he set the Patriots all-time single season touchdown record for a running back. I think he broke Curtis Martin's record. And it was just that all he was doing was just getting the ball down by the goal line, just running it in. I think he did that in 2016, and everyone was talking about how incredible, LeGarrette Blount was. But if you think about that running back core, though, it was more about what Dion Lewis and what James White were doing. But Blount just finished it off towards the goal line. So I think that's what you would kind of see with Zeke a little bit more. Don't be surprised if his touchdowns do go up if you're a fantasy person like that. So I think that could be something you see with him a lot more this year. But it is still going to be Ramondre's backfield.
I do like it, but I do think that somebody that's probably going to be in the rotation a lot could be somebody like J.J. Taylor, just because he's small, he's fast, and he's all about quickness. I mean, he's a small guy. He's got to be quick, because those are both big backs. And granted, both of those running backs, Stevenson and Elliott, are both amazing out of the backfield.
Yeah.
But they're just they're not as quick with their moves. And I think you get a guy like J.J. Taylor in there, you got those three running backs, starting. I think you're great. You're golden. I love all three of those guys. And I think they all bring something different to the table that can complement each other,
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
I'm all about it.
I mean, I've followed Taylor for a while now. I don't really know how he's going to hold up going forward with this thing.
Exactly.
But I think that following the first preseason game, there was, a greater, hole that we saw at the running back position. It doesn't look, it's still some questions surrounding Kevin Harris and Pierre Strong. I don't know what type of guys those are really going to be with this team. And I think
special teamers mostly.
And I think Bill Belichick kind of saw that situation and he said, all right, I think we actually do need to go out and get one of these veterans. And, I know Dalvin Cook had been linked with the Pats for a while. He was liking, posts on Twitter and was kind of trying to hint at getting himself there, but it didn't work out. He ends up going to the Jets instead. And yeah, I mean, it's I don't know about that.
Oh man.
What do you think about that deal, Tyler? I mean, listen, I would have been interested in Dalvin Cook, but some people had said that the Pats were going to get Dalvin Cook and DeAndre Hopkins this offseason. They settled with Zeke Elliott. So what do you think about Dalvin, kind of getting away?
I mean, obviously, a guy like Dalvin Cook and a guy like DeAndre Hopkins and even Zeke Elliott, I mean, I think you're paying a couple extra million just for the name alone. You know what? No matter what they're worth, you're going to pay for the name. So I think them getting one of those guys and getting a guy that complements them better is good in Zeke Elliott. But I don't know about Dalvin Cook's role in New York. I mean, you got a loaded running back field with you got Breece Hall back there and you got Michael Carter as well. And I mean, like that's Breece Hall's backfield. And then you just got all those receivers. I mean, that's going to be a passing first offense, but I also think it's definitely a good signing for them because you got a guy like Aaron Rodgers that's 38, 39 years old. He's not going to be holding up much longer. So if you hand the ball off a couple of times to these younger guys, I mean, Dalvin Cook's still young, but people say he doesn't have juice left in his legs. I think that's a lie. I think it's just more about the guy's injury prone.
Sure.
But, and you got Breece Hall, but I like the Jets, and that coming from a Pats fan, the only reason I say I like the Jets is because watching Hard Knocks, Rodgers seems like a pretty laid-back guy, definitely filling a leadership role, all about it. He sits with a different dude at lunch every day, heard about that. He's preached it on the show. I'm all about that. But I'm also a big Sauce Gardner guy, repping Cincinnati, baby.
Okay.
Cincy. Yeah, so, loving that. But I don't know. I think the Patriots are definitely in a tough conference this year. I mean, it's going to take a lot for them to get to the playoffs, but I think they got it with, a lot of the guys that they brought in this year, including Zeke Elliott, the tight ends, Gesicki. They've been watching film on Hernandez and Gronk, how those two operated back in their prime with Bill O'Brien days. And then you got Juju Smith-Schuster. I think this offense is set up for success. Whether they get success is a different story, but I think they are locked and loaded, and they got the two right guys at the helm. 3 if you include Belichick, because I got Bill O'Brien and Mac Jones. I think Mac's still the guy. I think he's still got it in. He's got that dog in him. So we'll see. But I like the Dalvin Cook signing in New York. I think it's a good one, but we'll see. But I definitely like the Zeke Elliott signing. I like that one.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, I like the Dalvin Cook signing as well. What it does for the Jets is I know you said that it's Breece Hall's backfield, but he's coming off that ACL injury. And as we know,
Exactly.
with a lot of running backs, especially, this is kind of even typical of all NFL players, but that first year back off the ACL, you're kind of just trying to, for lack of a better words, get your legs under you.
Feeling it out.
Yeah,
Feeling it out.
you literally had your knee reconstructed. So it's kind of just like getting getting motion back to it, trying to, get a feel for it. And you can still have some production, but it's usually that second year following the injury that you start to see some real improvement in the guy, and they start to look like themselves of old. So I think getting Dalvin Cook in there on the deal that he's in, it allows them to, kind of in a similar situation to Zeke Elliott, take some of the bullets away from Breece Hall. And then hopefully he can build back on that as we go forward. So that's kind of what we have with that. But Tyler, you still with me, Tyler? Seems like we might have lost Tyler for a second there. So as he's trying to get the call back,
can you hear me?
Yeah, Tyler, we lost you for a second. You still there, bud?
Yeah, you were just going. It was going slow, so I was just kind of waiting for it to catch up. It looks like it's caught up, I think.
Yeah, no worries. I saw you were kind of fading out there, so just wanted to wait a second for you. So we're going to wrap up with the Ezekiel Elliott stuff. But Tyler, you had mentioned that to me before the show. You went to the first preseason game for the Pats this year. What were some things that you liked, and what were some things that you didn't like in the first preseason action for this team?
One of the things I didn't like was the offensive line. It looked like the Texans were getting in there and getting to Zappy a little bit, rattling him around. But one of the things I did like was the Tyquan Thornton. I thought looked great. He looked solid. I think when he's running with the ones and I mean all the ones, I think he's gonna be golden when Parker and Schuster are out there. I think you're gonna be throwing your third, fourth corner on, or even a safety or a linebacker. You could be having to throw it on Thornton. You don't know because of those other two guys. And I like it. I like it a lot. And if Thornton ends up getting one of the corners, then the other two, the Parker and Schuster, those guys can be wide open. I like it. And then you got Bourne as well. But one of the things I did notice was Malik Cunningham looked pretty good. He was taking some reps at receiver, as well as taking some reps at quarterback, and almost ran it. It was basically run like a wildcat. But like obviously it wasn't because he's a quarterback. But you know what I'm trying to say. Ran it in for the touchdown. Looked freaking great.
I mean, it looked electric. I mean, Malik Cunningham, aka Lamar Jackson Light, also played at Louisville, broke all of Lamar's records while there, and went undrafted. Apparently, towards the end of the draft, he was actually telling teams, "Don't draft me," because he knew he had a better shot to, maybe make a team and have an impact if he went somewhere undrafted. And the Patriots recognized that. I think they gave him like a $200,000 signing bonus. They were really in on him.
They paid him.
Yeah,
they paid him.
So I think that they're kind of looking at him right now as maybe sort of a project where, is he maybe the quarterback of the future? Probably not. But there's definitely some promise there where you could maybe, use him in some sort of gadget plays. We've always seen plays with like Jacoby Myers or Julian Edelman throwing all these touchdown passes. But to have someone like a Malik Cunningham, it's similar to a Taysom Hill situation down in New Orleans.
There you go.
And you can use him, where Taysom is more of a tight end where he's used in that offense. You could have a wide out option with Malik and just have guys flood around like that. So I think he's
wide out QB and running back. Malik Cunningham can play. The man's got ball skills, so you can pitch it to him. I don't know about handing it off to him, but if you pitch it to him and you give that man like a little bit of open space to make some moves, I think you're in for a great guy, because then you can also do those exact same plays with Tyquan Thornton, because they're both wicked fast and wicked agile. And that gives you two guys that you can potentially throw that play at defenses. And I think that just gives you a better chance, because if they see Thornton back there, they'll be like, oh, well, maybe this play's coming. But if they see Cunningham, they'll be like, oh, that play's coming. But two of them, you don't know what the hell is coming.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing too, Tyler, is you put him in that backfield, you could do a halfback pass. Essentially, you can do a flip. You can do a flip to him, and you see the halfback pass play all the time in Madden. And usually, you're doing it with guys that barely can even throw a football. But you run a play like that with Malik Cunningham, he can actually move the ball downfield, not like a Josh Allen type, but he can throw probably a pretty accurate ball. So I think it's
the dude was a quarterback. I mean, like the dude can throw. Is he as accurate as say Mac Jones? No, Mac Jones is obviously the most accurate passer in his draft class. Like he just was. So you're not going to get that from Cunningham, but I think he brings some spice to the offense. And I think Bill O'Brien can definitely have some tricks up his sleeves on how to use him. Obviously, they've had guys in the past. I mean, you mentioned Julian Edelman. He was great. I mean, he also reminds me a little bit of a Troy Brown kind of guy, but that's because in my head, Troy Brown, Welker, and Edelman go hand in hand.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
mean,
and
I mean,
Amendola, those guys.
I mean, it's just like the versatility of those guys. You had Julian Edelman out playing linebacker back in the day. You had Troy Brown playing cornerback, even getting some interceptions
Exactly.
at the time. So, it gives you plenty of opportunities to
Exactly.
use a guy like that. Even Mike Vrabel's another
Yeah,
guy that
he's a
comes to mind.
football player. He's
Exactly.
a football player. That's exactly what he is. Brown and Edelman were football players. That's what Bill used to say. They were football players. They didn't have a position. I
Mhm.
mean, they did, but they didn't.
Yeah. Now,
You know,
Tyler, yeah. So
versatile.
Tyler, one player who didn't appear in this preseason game that everyone has a lot of questions going into this year, obviously, is Mac Jones. They're wondering what kind of a step up he's going to take. What do you think of him going into this year? He's had some pretty promising days in camp so far. My brother shared me some stats on him. I think he completed like 80% of his passes over the past couple of days. So his accuracy is starting to look pretty good. And maybe Bill O'Brien can salvage what Matt Patricia almost ruined. What do you think about Mac Jones going into this year?
I'm liking it. The guy's looking confident. And I think that's his biggest thing. He lost his confidence last year. First year, his confidence was an all-time high. He's like, this is my team. And he's right. It is his team, but his coach completely failed him. I
Absolutely.
think that's completely true. But you get a guy like Bill O'Brien that knows Mac Jones' strengths, weaknesses. He's a smart guy himself. I think that's exactly what Mac needed. Then you grab a couple guys like Juju and Gasecki around him, and I think they're set up for success. I mean, I went to one of the training camps. Mac was the first guy out. That's huge, especially for a quarterback. He's the leader. That's a big thing. Being the first guy out sets the tone. I liked it. I think that way he carries himself is going to help him on the field as well. He's going to be the leader of that offense, and he's going to know it. Um, but he looked like he was. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear
Tyler?
me?
Yeah,
All
I
right.
got you.
He. Oh yeah, it's just lagging a little bit. That's all.
Yeah.
Um, but no, he looked good. I liked it. He was laughing, smiling, joking with everybody, and I think that's what he lost last year because the skill was there. I mean, we saw it all year, but he made some bonehead moves. But I think that's because the guy was trying to do too much. I think he knew the coaches were failing him, and I just think he wasn't having any fun, and that's huge in this league. You got to be out there having a good time with you guys, and if you're not, dangerously affect your play. I'm not saying the guy needs to not focus and stuff like that, but I think he needed to let loose just a teeny bit and kind of enjoy the sport a little bit more. I think it's going to go a long way for him. I like him. I think we're in for a big year for him. Big
No,
step up.
no, Tyler, I can definitely agree with that. I mean, you have to admit it. Like Matt Patricia failed Mac Jones. Like
Failed.
yeah,
Failed.
it was awful. I mean, not just by like, ruining his confidence, but taking some of his best offensive options off the field. I mean, week 1, Kendrick Bourne misses a meeting and he's in the doghouse for the entire season. Tyler, I remember yelling at you about this, saying Matt Patricia, in his mind, for his authority as an offensive guy, has no right to take Kendrick Bourne off the field. He has no right to do that. And
he does, but it was taken to such an extreme, it blew my mind.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. And here's the thing, it's not like I understand Kendrick Bourne isn't Randy Moss, but the one game where he finally started for the team, I think it was against the Bengals, he was like AFC Player of the Week. And so
Exactly.
so literally when you plugged him into that offense, Mac Jones knew, hey, this is a guy I can trust and go to, and he was able to really succeed with that. So and then the very next week, Patricia sits him down again. And I was like, what are we doing here? So I'm hoping that Bill O'Brien can at least realize that and put it in, check his ego at the door and realize, all right, we're trying to help out the young quarterback here. We're in year 3. Last year was supposed to be the big year of his improvement. So we're going to try to, get back to that right now. So I'm hoping that, you can at least utilize all the weapons and not throw a screen pass every single down, because this offense is so much more capable of what they showed last year. Even with the additions that they have, they could have done so much more with that offense last year. And, we saw flashes of it in the Vikings game and different points throughout the season. So I think if they can just actually, go out there and run the offense the way they should, then they can be pretty successful. So I'm hopeful of that.
Yes.
And, hopefully they can maybe catch a team like the Dolphins. Hopefully they take a step back, and maybe the Jets, if things with Rodgers go wrong, then that whole situation could go haywire. So, maybe there's a path to this for this team after all, but we're going to have to see how
Definitely
that all
could
breaks
be.
down. But
There
Tyler,
definitely could be.
Yeah.
Definitely could be.
So, Tyler, that's what we have in NFL news for right now. We're going to step over into MLB news. Oh, I'd like to share it. I like to share it.
TJ Maxx, baby. $7.
That's a nice cop. I love it. I love it.
Now.
All right. So right now we're actually going to switch over into MLB news and baseball news. And this is a story that kind of dominated the headlines for a while. And it was one that I had wanted to talk about on this show, but I just didn't have a chance because I haven't done an episode. And Tyler, this is about the Baltimore Orioles announcer, Kevin Brown. Tyler, you said you haven't seen the clip in its entirety, right? But you kind of know the context, right?
I know enough. I saw the story, never saw any videos, no really details, but I know that the Orioles announcer said something or commented.
Oh, we lost Tyler again. So, yeah,
on their performance against
the Tampa Bay Rays. So it was about the Orioles and how they performed against the Tampa Bay Rays at the Trop. Tyler, I'll actually pull up the clip and show it to you. You still there, dude? Can
you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, it's like we're going through a tunnel right now. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's your Wi-Fi, bro. No, it's yours.
Oh, I got full bars right now, man. I don't think
like that Spider-Man meme. Yeah, so do I. I got full bars.
Yeah, all right.
Spider-Man meme.
So I'm gonna go in and actually show you the clip, Tyler, so that way you can have a little bit of background on what exactly he said, what the whole controversy was, and let me know if you hear anything, Tyler, that really catches your eye here, or catches your ear for that matter.
Yeah. The Orioles, Brandon Hyde has felt like this has been maybe the toughest ballpark to play in, but the Orioles have a chance to do something special today. They've already clinched at least a split in the series, winning 2 of the first 3, and they could pick up a series win behind Tyler Wells today. It's been a minute. The Orioles split a 2-gamer with the Rays in June. They had lost their last 15 series here at Tropicana Field. You have to go back to when our now colleague Brad Brock picked up the win in the series finale June 25th, 2017, the last time the Orioles won a series here at St. Pete. Already got 3-2 at the Trop this year after winning 3 of 18 the previous 3 years combined. It is a stark difference, Ben, and it is not a bad Rays team. It's not like all of a sudden the Rays became slouches in the American League East. They've led this division every day, but now 2, and the Orioles once again are back alone in first place.
Yeah. That is the clip in its entirety, Tyler. Did you catch anything that seemed questionable to you?
What? No.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this world sucks, man.
So Tyler,
you can't say anything.
So yeah, what had happened is because I remember when this happened, I was just like, I had to go back and watch it a second time. I was like, he had to have said something racist or sexist, because that's just the world that we live in, is that some guy says something on TV and it's like, oh yeah, that's how that guy loses his job. And I thought that's definitely how it happened. And I went in and I was just watching the video and I was like, what the hell is going on here? Like, what could have this guy have gotten suspended for? And no one really noticed it at first. And it was just, no one really noticed that this thing was even happening and that this guy was suspended. But then a leaked announcement got out that was the comment that got him taken off the air. And it was just the fact that he, talked bad, quote, talked bad about the team and how they were struggling. And that the owner decided to take him off the air for that, because the owner also owns the broadcasting network.
So he got in trouble for posting a graphic and talking about the fact that they were 0-15 against the Rays at Tropicana, correct?
So he doesn't obviously post the graphics, Tyler. Like, that's what's crazy is, like, it's not like this guy, like, during a game went on like some like spree and was kind of just like talking bad about the Rays. This was in their game notes, which for, Tyler, I know you kind of have an idea of this, but for anyone who doesn't understand,
go through people.
Yeah, for anyone who doesn't understand like game notes, like, this is stuff that's being like brought up and like talked about like hours before the broadcast. It's being planned. These are things that we're gonna go over.
Days.
And yeah,
days, hours. It goes through multiple people. Like, yeah, it's seen by multiple people.
And all he's doing is reading off a sheet of all the statistics that they have. The graphics department, the stats people, they're just telling him, hey, like, these are the stats that we have on how the Orioles are doing against the Rays. why don't you talk about this leading into your broadcast? And it's like, yeah, that makes sense. Like if it's a current topic, we're going to discuss it. It's not like he was calling out players by name saying like, oh, these guys suck. Like they need to have, like they need to play better. He was just stating the facts. And the fact
truth hurts.
And the fact that that was enough to get him taken off the air is ridiculous. And I'm glad that like all the other announcers around baseball like came out and like were saying to the Orioles ownership, what the hell is wrong with you? Like what the hell is wrong with you? Like you need to be so thin-skinned to take offense to that. There have been plenty of guys that have called out guys on air and say like, oh, you need to do better. They weren't even calling out ownership, which frankly, Orioles ownership should get called out for how poorly they've done over the past like 10 or so years. They could get called out for plenty of things. So, I mean, like that's the ridiculous thing to me, Tyler, is the fact that like it could have been so much worse for Orioles ownership. And they decide to, like kind of like and go after him for that.
They made it worse for themselves.
Like, listen, Tyler, if they don't do a suspension, no one talks about it.
No one was going to talk about it at all. You're correct. No one dared to glance.
It's not. It wouldn't have been it wouldn't have even been like a local story. It would have been like, oh yeah, the Rays have struggled down there. It's like how the Patriots struggle against the Dolphins. It's just like a fact, like about how teams do there.
You can't run away from the facts. Because you were an athlete too.
Yeah.
Right. You know, if you suck, you suck.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? In somebody comments that you suck, you just gotta be like, yeah, man, it's the truth.
Yeah, or you go out there and you do something about it. Whether it's either you acquire players that can play better for you, which involves guess what, Peter Angelo? So it involves you spending some money. You have to spend some money, like which the Orioles have been very reluctant to do. They do the same money ball techniques that the Rays, the A's, and now the Red Sox, unfortunately, are doing, and like And it's like I'm just like, yeah, like I understand like trying to, reduce payroll and all this stuff. But when you've had such a suck team over these past couple of years, this is the result that you're going to get.
Shohei Ohtani, bro. That's what they need.
Yeah. I mean, listen, every team could use Shohei Ohtani. So
yeah, I don't get it. I mean, that was the first time I saw that clip. And honestly, I didn't see anything there that was like,
there's nothing there,
bad mouthing anything. But he was just reading stats. And honestly, the stats also said that, hey, this is what their record was the past seasons or the past season, and this is what they're at now, and it showed them that they were improved.
They
improved a little bit.
Yeah.
So
he was talking about how the team is actually doing better now because at that point they were in first place in the AL East. So he was like, hey, in spite of this, we're still doing pretty hot. Like we're still in good shape.
Look at them. This is what they used to do, but now look at we're here. Maybe this can
turn
into something. Like that's what he's rolling with. And then they're just like, yeah, no, you talk too badly about them. Like, honestly, man, it's just snowflake. That's what they are.
I'll say this right now. If Kevin Brown after the season just wants to tell the Orioles, hey, kiss my ass, I have like 20 other jobs that would probably take him right now. Because I
think anybody would, yeah.
Because like, listen, he's actually a pretty decent announcer. He's a funny guy. He seems to kind of like a pretty good touch on things. And like, I'd probably take Kevin Brown, announcing for the Red Sox over like Dave O'Brien, what we got right now. Like the NESN broadcast is a mess. So like
it's not good. So like, it's not good anymore. They're boring.
Yeah, like once we lost Don and Jerry, it got like so freaking boring. And I'm
throw me in there, bro. Throw me in there.
So yeah, I mean it's ridiculous, man. I'm like, you're reading facts off a thing. Like you can't like get that, that like drawn out over this. It's crazy. So I don't know.
They should throw us in the booth.
That would be I mean,
I've been to the wire in the booth. We're live.
I've been in the booth before, man. It's a time. I will say it's a craft. And I mean, the Orioles, like they have a history of this now. Like John Miller, who Tyler, if you were to look him up, you would probably have a better idea of him. I don't know if you know John Miller just off the name. But yeah, if you look him up, he used to do some of the calls for Sunday Night Baseball, some of those famous calls, and he's just got one of those nostalgic voices. If you look,
like the Troy Aikman guys, the Joe Buck,
If you were to look him up, you'd remember him. He used to be the play-by-play guy for the Orioles, and then just suddenly one off season, he just said like, "All right, I'm stepping down from the role." And a part of me is just thinking like the Orioles probably like went to him with some of these similar things of being like, "Hey, you can't criticize the team," and he was like, "I'm a legend. F you. I'm done with this."
Yeah.
Like like they've now screwed over two great announcers. One is actually an absolute legend. And
but one's young. One is youth.
Yeah.
This in the sports like commentating industry, it's very rare to get good young youth in there. It is because it's a hard door to crack open, if you know what I mean. Like it's a tough one. It just is
Exactly.
what it is.
So
To be fair, Brian, I have no doubts that you'll be in a booth one day. But
I don't
some
know.
people can't get in there. Some people
Yeah.
can't get in there. And that guy finally gets in there. You got a young guy that's good, has a good voice for it, has a good just character, holds himself to a good standard for camera, things like that. And you're gonna go and suspend him over just criticizing you
Literally
over really
nothing.
nothing.
Yeah.
You're probably right. He's probably gonna go somewhere else. He's probably gonna get, hey, we won't do that to you. Hey, you can do your reporting thing and be a good reporter and a good broadcaster, and we're not gonna suspend you for it.
Yeah. I hope the Orioles have a good AAA announcer, because if I'm Kevin Brown, I'm gone. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I'd be gone too.
but that's what we have with that, Tyler. The other MLB story I wanted to touch on with you was actually involving our Red Sox, and it has to do with Chris Sale making his return to the mound after many months on the DL. He got put on the 60-day DL, and it's just been a sad case with Chris Sale ever since that contract extension. It's been one of the worst extensions, unfortunately, that we've ever signed as an organization.
Yeah.
And frankly, I love Chris Sale for what he did
Yeah.
for us in 2018. I mean, he was a dog for us. Getting those final 3 outs was, the ace of that team for so many years, but just hasn't been able to stay healthy, hasn't been able to live up to it. And it's unfortunate. Like the guy he's like a $120 soaking wet. He's 6'6". And like people have always said, like, hey, you should probably put on some more weight, like get a little more built. You might not have all these injuries that happen. And, things just never change. Like, and it just got to the point where he had Tommy John, then he has the broken pinky incident. And now this year, like things started to finally look good to where he wasn't the Chris Sale of old, but he was still a pretty good pitcher at the start of this year. And
we
then
need somebody.
And then he has a stress fracture. And I was like, oh my God, like it just never stops with this guy.
Can't catch a break.
And I felt so bad. But in his first game back, he pitches like 4 innings, gets like 7 Ks in his return. So, he looked pretty sharp. I mean, I got to give him credit for it. So, it doesn't seem like he's going to be the type to really, at least in this remaining stretch of the season, it's not like you're going to have him going like 6-7 innings consistently.
No,
but
God, no.
But if you're telling me you can get Chris Sale for maybe 4 to 5 solid innings, I mean, that obviously helps out this Red Sox rotation, which is, struggled to say.
Lackluster.
Struggled is the least offensive way I can put it for this team. We've been god awful at some points with like back-to-back bullpen games, the openers, which I freaking hate. Like, I can understand the idea of an opener when you have a lefty go on the mound and then you put a righty in after that. But we're doing like back-to-back righties or back-to-back lefties, and it doesn't even make sense anymore why we're doing it. So, yeah, I mean, listen, I'm hopeful that, Sale can return to form, but we'll have to see how this all does work itself out, Tyler.
I think it's a good point. It's a good thing for Chris Sale to be back because, I mean, you mentioned before they're trying to make a playoff push.
Yeah, they're currently 3 games out of that final wildcard spot. Tyler, do you think they have enough? I don't. I just don't know.
I don't think they have enough. I don't think they have enough, but let's say they do, right? Let's say they make it in. I think the game's coming. You got to keep Chris Sale in and keep the arm loose a little bit, but don't overuse him. And you're hoping that he can be ready for the playoffs potentially if they make it. I think that's what you need to do. But you also, even if you don't make the playoffs, you need Chris Sale in there, getting his arm still loose. But I think that could also help you in the playoffs if, granted, they get there. I don't think they have the star power to really get to the playoffs. I think if they do, they're going to be on hopes and dreams and hoping that maybe some of their stars can really show up in those moments like Devers, Turner, and Story, and Chris Sale if he's ready.
Yeah,
I think those are you guys are gonna have to lean on, but I don't think they have the star power. I really don't. I think that they're just not a good team this year. But we're better than the Yankees, aren't we? I'm pretty sure we are.
Yeah, that's been pretty sweet. But Tyler, I got to say this. What's been so frustrating, and you say that we haven't been a good team this year, and by all records, we're out of the playoffs. That usually is definition of you not being a good team.
We're not Red Sox standards. That's what I'll reiterate. We're not Red Sox standards. We don't suck, but we're not standards.
And that's what's been so infuriating under this Chaim Bloom regime is that the standards in the bar has just gotten lowered so much. I mean, The idea for the Red Sox is that you should be competing for the division every single year. That's the idea.
Yeah, for the World Series every single year. Every year.
And if not that, you at least should be in the hunt. You should be competing to at least be in that playoff spot, making it consistently with the payroll that you have. You're the fourth richest team in all of baseball, but you have a payroll that sits in the middle of the league. So like you have the means to do it. You just don't go out and, do it anymore. And listen, I mean, you've won 4 World Series over your time here in Boston. I'm incredibly grateful that I've been alive to see all of them. And I understand that. But for John Henry, he's got a lot of other, investments right now. I know with the Penguins, he's trying to get into that NBA expansion city. He's got Liverpool that he's still doing stuff with. But listen, man, if you're not into it anymore and you're not all about getting these championships, then man, you got to sell the team. Like it's like
give it to Kraft, baby. Give it to Kraft.
It's a Kraft. That would
give
be
it to
crazy.
Kraft. What's his son's Jonathan, right? Jonathan will be running the Pats eventually, in probably about a year or two.
Yeah, who knows? But yeah, so that's the deal with them. But listen, you had a chance at this trade deadline you didn't have to go out and blow the doors off some teams and go make some crazy deals, but you at least could have made some additions to say to this team, hey, we're invested in you. We think that you guys, not next year, but you guys alone can do some damage in these playoffs. Here are some pieces to go make that happen. And what they didn't do anything. They stood pat. And, it would have even been better potentially had they said, like, all right, if we don't really think we're going to invest in this team, maybe we can sell off a guy like Adam Duvall. Maybe he wants to go back to the Braves, go win a chip there. Maybe we can get some prospects for him. But even those expiring contracts, we didn't do anything with. And now we're just kind of stuck in place. So,
I actually saw while I was in the gym the other day. I saw before the trade deadline, this was maybe a couple weeks ago. I saw that the Brewers made a couple of trades. They're late trades because they are. I know Christian Yelich. I know the Brewers are really good. I'm sorry, my baseball knowledge isn't quite as powerful as Brian. I'm sorry.
Sure.
But I know the Brewers are good, and I know they're making a put. They're most likely in the playoffs, and I feel like they definitely are. But those guys are going for World Series, and I think that they did exactly what seemed like the Red Sox needs to do. They need to see what they have. Like, okay, now where can we go from here? We're, like you said, we're getting ready to hopefully make a playoff push. What cheap players can we add that are going to make a splash on our team, that are going to help boost our team to where we need to be? And they didn't do that. And the Brewers freaking did it. The Brewers got a couple good veterans, I believe. And then they traded for it.
Yeah.
Like the Astros did. The Astros traded for Verlander.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, what are the Red Sox just finger in their ass? Like, what are they doing?
And I'm not saying we need to go out for Verlander because, like, that cost the Astros their number 1 prospect. That's ridiculous. I'm not saying we need to do that because
they got robbed.
Yeah,
they got robbed.
I mean, we got Marcelo Meyer.
That's karma for cheating. That's karma for cheating.
Yeah. So, like, we got certain players that are in our farm system that I'm not really trying to part with, but Chaim Bloom took this system. I think it's the number 5 system in all of baseball now. We were dead last at one point under Dave Dombrowski. So, Chaim, congratulations. You've rebuilt this system. You've done a great job doing it, but you need to use some of those pieces. Not all of these prospects are going to be good. That's the risk in it. Some of these guys are just going to suck. Like they can't do it. But
they're going to be Savannah Bananas.
Yeah, exactly. But what they are when they're in the minors is they're promising young prospects, and it's your job to evaluate it and say, all right, this guy will be pretty good. This guy, we have some questions about his hitting. His fielding's kind of sketchy. So we're going to, really hype him up, but send him out the door and, sell him to another team. And that's your job. Dave Dombrowski did a great job of it when he was GM of the Red Sox. He said, all right, no, we're not going to trade Mookie Betts, but we will trade Manuel Margot, who had a similar comp at the time. And he's a major league player right now, but we traded him away and we got Craig Kimbrell in return. And then same thing with guys like Andrew Benintendi and Rafael Devers. He said, all right, I'm not going to get rid of those guys, but I will trade the number 1 prospect in our system, Yohan Moncada, and Michael Kopech, who was supposed to be this flamethrower pitcher. We're going to send them to the White Sox and get Chris Sale. So he was able to maneuver those deals and get guys who are pretty solid MLB talents. Michael Kopech is a pretty good mainstay in Chicago, and Yohan Moncada, has been a pretty solid player with them too. But definitely not to the caliber that those other guys were. And he was able to read that talent well. For Chaim Bloom, his whole philosophy is like, well, I can't risk. I won't have to deal with risking trading a good player away to another team. if I never trade away a good player to another team, if I never trade any prospect, then I can't possibly trade away a good one.
Yeah, I don't get that. You got to trade the young talent because you can pick and choose the talent that you like, that fits your team, that fits the mold that you're looking for. But you also got the guys that are still young talent that don't fit your style. Their trade value is higher because they're young.
Yes.
Another team sees the youth in these guys and sees, oh, this guy's got potential to do something. He can be this guy for our team. No, he can be that guy. That's when you need to utilize the talent. That's why you need to focus so much on your farm teams and your AAA teams and things like that and these prospects, because it's the youth that these teams like, obviously. Who doesn't like youth?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Tyler, as this team does get ready for the playoffs, you are out on them at the moment. Only 3 games back. Do you think that, I just got to wonder, like, we have a bunch of guys that are returning to this team via injury. Trevor Story did just come back. He's looking red hot out the gate. He had a 4-for-4 night just the other day. And then Chris Sale with his outings. Like, do you think that there is a path with this team to make the playoffs? Like, I know that you're out on them at the moment, but if there is a path, what does that kind of look like for you?
I think they do have a path, but I think that all the guys really need to start coming together more and trusting each other, and obviously trusting someone like Chris Sale and being like, all right, we just need about those 4 innings out of you. Can you give us those 4 innings? You got to be really behind these guys, Trevor Story really needs to step up. I think they really need to show the leadership role to get this team and be like, hey, we can do this playoff push, but they got to trust in each other and just they got to trust the process. I mean, shout out Joel Embiid, but they got to just trust the process and they'll be good to go.
Yeah.
And I think they just need to buy into that. If they buy into that, I think they'll make the playoffs, but I don't know if they're going to buy into that. I don't know if they really have a true leader on this team. I haven't really seen a lot out of Devers to show that leadership role, which, somebody like Bogarts could have given you.
Yeah. Very true. So Tyler, it's funny that you mentioned Joel Embiid because he's going to be part of the last topic we're going to discuss on this show as we transition from baseball news into NBA basketball news. That's going to have to deal with the fallout that's going on in Philly right now, as I like to call it. This kind of all started with James Harden. He had
I hate him. Yeah. I hate him. He sucks. He's a bomb. He's literally a bomb.
So following the 76ers early departure from the playoffs last year, James Harden, made it pretty clear that he was going to want to, find a new situation for himself. And Daryl Morey, who was the GM of the 76ers, also used to be the GM of the Rockets back in the day. So, he was the one that kind of dealt with, he was there during the James Harden era, dealt with some of that stuff. So they have sort of a history with each other. I don't know whether it had been good or bad up until now, but, James Harden was being floated around in trade talks by Morey, and they were trying to say like, hey, like, trying to get teams to buy in on him. They weren't getting anything. And then, just a couple days ago, Daryl Morey comes out and says, hey, we're going to shut down trade talks. We're ready to go with James for the season. Can't wait to see what we do. And then James Harden is at a media press thing over in China, I believe, and just gets up in front of everyone with their phones out. And he just goes, Daryl Morey is a liar and I will never play for him again. And just like, and he literally says, let me repeat myself. And he just goes on and says it again. So, yeah, it was, let me see if I can actually find that clip. So if I share this, let me see if I can find the exact clip. It would be on YouTube.
I did see it, but I don't.
Just for people to hear it. Yeah.
Harden's kind of a cancer, and every team he goes to, he says he wants out. He doesn't like it. Oh, it's not my place. I don't really like it. But it's just I don't know. He's just a problem. He causes so many problems. He's more.
He's a liar.
Yeah. There it is.
And I would never be a part of an organization that he's a part of. Let me say that again. Daryl Morey is a liar, and I will never be a part of an organization that he's a part of again. Thank you, man.
And they're all clapping for him.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's stunt. That's a stunt. That's
yeah, exactly.
Ridiculous. Like, what's the matter with you? I mean, like, what? Who goes out and does that? You do it behind closed doors. I mean, you're in a business world. That's not. I mean, we went to business school. The NBA is a business. Whether people like it or not, the sport of basketball is a business. That is not business practice. No. I don't know what place James Harden learned to do that. But that is such a bad look for James Harden. That's like, oh wow, it's the third place he's caused problems. Now what? This dude's out of league before he knows it.
I mean, Tyler, it's unbelievable what these guys are able to do. Guys like James Harden, Kyrie Irving, where they've been able to bitch everywhere that they've been.
Every freaking place they go.
And they get their way every single time. I thought that people would finally come around to the idea that, hey, Kyrie Irving, he's kind of spoiled his way out of what is it, like 3 cities now? Like, obviously he got traded out of Cleveland because he wanted to do his own thing. They were fine in Cleveland with LeBron, but he was the second guy there. Everything blew up in Boston, and he says even after he said he was going to resign there, goes to Brooklyn. Basically was part of the reason that whole thing blew up when they even got James Harden in there. And then goes to Dallas this past season. They take a team that had a pretty high chance to make the playoffs. And
I hated that they traded for him.
And they fall out on the last day of the season. Now it looks like Luka Doncic could eventually want out of Dallas as a result. And, what does Dallas do? They don't say, hey, Luka's probably the better player. We need to invest in this guy. They go, no, we're actually going to give Kyrie Irving an extension on top of this. And they give him an extension. I'm like, you saw what he did for this team. The morale got brought down. You guys missed the playoffs. You guys, they even got fined for tanking to get a better draft selection. So, yeah. I mean, like, what were you guys doing? Why did these guys keep getting rewarded? James Harden didn't want to play for Houston anymore. So what did he do? He got fat.
I remember, and forced to trade to Brooklyn.
He got fat out of protest, gets traded to Brooklyn, and then suddenly looks skinny all over again. And I was like, what the hell is going on? Watch, we're going to see James Harden roll up to this thing. He's going to be morbidly obese at 76.
Looking like a Pillsbury Doughboy.
Exactly.
Oh, the Michelin Man.
And he's just going to sit there with his arms crossed on the sideline until he gets traded to a contending team. And I'm like, why do you guys keep wanting to bring these guys in? And I know, listen, Kyrie Irving can still get buckets. Kyrie Irving is pretty solid still.
Kyrie Irving stays healthy.
Yeah. James Harden is starting, we saw, in Philly, his role is decreasing. He's not the MVP candidate that he was all these years ago. He's still a serviceable star player and can continue to be great for a team. Yeah. But he's not that number one guy anymore.
Irving never took a step back.
Yeah, Irving can still
never
play.
Took a step back.
James Harden really has no reason to do this. His game has fallen off. And there's no really denying that. I know that he gave Jaylen Brown buckets in that game one against the Celtics when Embiid was out, but really he hasn't been that guy for a while now. And
you're not that guy, pal.
So
trust me, you're not that guy.
So that's the first thing going wrong in Philly. And then the second thing that's some cause for concern for the 76ers is their actual star Joel Embiid went on to social media and removed every mention of the 76ers from his social media. So he took like 76ers center out of his bios, everything like that. And then he also changed his name on Instagram. I think that this was done after the fact to Joel Troel Embiid. So I think he's just completely done with the organization now. I mean, he at least is seeing what kind of a joke it's being. And I think, whether you want to respect James Harden or not, I think Embiid at least listens to him. He sees him as a veteran in the league. And he's like, all right, if he's not happy with Daryl Morey, I'm probably not going to be either. So I think that he at least is going to feed off whatever James Harden is giving. So, the process in Philly, it might just be broken. The process might be coming apart at the seams as we very well see it. Cause there's so many
coming apart. Yeah.
Because there's so many years into it and they haven't gotten anything from it. And it doesn't look like they're going to take a step ahead of the Celtics or the Bucks. It doesn't look like they're still in that lower
Knicks.
Or
even the Knicks are ahead of them.
Yeah, or the Heat for that matter, because they lost to them too. They're still in that lower bar echelon of talent.
Yeah, they are. They're not at the top. And I mean, you got a team also. Now you got a team like Charlotte that's got some young talent that could be tossed in there now and could be competing against them, and they could be better because I like some of their talent better.
Absolutely. So
it's things like that. But I think Joel Embiid to Portland. Heard it right here.
That's an interesting one. I mean, listen, you don't know what
pick and rolls with Lillard and Joel.
So you think that Lillard could even show up still in Portland? You think that's even a possibility still?
Imagine Scoot Henderson, Joel. I imagine if they traded for Joel, they'd have to give up Scoot Henderson.
I'd imagine, yeah.
I would imagine that would probably be one of the things that you give up. But at the end of the day, we'll see. Harden's a cancer. Joel Embiid's probably just doing it for clout at this point, or he's mad because he wants James Harden on that team because he knows he's a leader, he's a veteran, he's a good player, and he's a former All-Star.
Yeah.
What more can you want out of a guy like that? So I think he's probably pissed off at the way the 76ers are managing that whole situation.
Absolutely.
And obviously Joel knows the inside stuff more than we do. So he
Yeah.
knows who's being real and who's being fake.
So Tyler, I can definitely understand that. Now, obviously, you have to at least recognize the talent that Joel Embiid brings to the table, whether you think he's handling things the right way or not. He is, one of the best centers in the league. He's an incredible talent. And
MVP.
Yeah, and you have to, MVP of the league. Now, I wonder what you'd have to think about this. So I know the Celtics just extended Jaylen Brown. They got him locked up for, like the next 5 years or so. But, we've seen him have some of his frustrations in Boston. It looks like he wants to be a number one guy somewhere. And say, 2-3 years down the line of this contract, it's not looking like Jaylen Brown's any happier. If Joel Embiid is still competing at this level, do you look into potentially making a deal with him and, bring him into do a pick and roll situation with Tatum, having him work down low? Because I'd at least entertain it if he's still able to play at this level.
I would definitely entertain it, but the problem is I don't want to trade somebody like Jaylen Brown for a 1-year rental of Joel Embiid. It would have to be, hey, he's definitely going to resign. He'll be with us for a couple more years.
It's like a Porzingis thing.
Yeah, that's the only reason I would really say, hey, look at Joel Embiid. I mean, like, I love the Porzingis trade. I love their team right now. I love Cody. It's not Cody. Is it Cody White? No, Derek White. I love Derek White, the point guard. I love him starting now over because Smart's gone. I think he brings just a little different game style and Smart. I like that. I like the look of the Celtics right now. So we'll see. But obviously, somebody like Horford is getting older, and Horford's going to have a role that's diminishing. You got a guy like Joel Embiid that does everything Al Horford does, just younger and better, and then plus more.
Yeah.
So I think that could be, obviously that's an upgrade, but I think if when Horford's ready to go, we look toward Embiid. I think that's a great, swap for the two, because I think what like Horford has in veteran leadership, I think Embiid makes up for it in all of his talent. And then I think that's really when it transitions to Jason and Jaylen's team. When Horford's gone, because obviously I think it's more his team. I think he's the leader. I think Horford is the leader. In my head, the leader of the locker room, it seems more like Horford than it is Tatum and Brown. It seems like the way the team vibe is, So.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was part of the issue too with Marcus Smart. Listen, I love Smart and what he can do as a player, but I think that, the team was still seeing him as the leader of that group. I'm hoping that him actually being out now will force a guy like either Tatum or Brown. It can be either one, could be both, to actually step up and take that leadership role. I like that Al has that veteran presence, but I like those two guys who are the stars to really step up and be that guy. So I'm hoping it can be that instead of Uncle Al coaching from the sidelines. So I'm hoping it's
that's
more
what
of
I'm
that.
hoping. I love Al Horford. I will never trash Al Horford. You'll never hear me trash Al Horford.
Exactly.
You heard it here first.
So Tyler, you mentioned that you like the Porzingis trade. There was news that came out though that he is dealing with a plantar fasciitis. Does that make you nervous at all going into the season? Because we've seen it happen with plenty of stars before, and it's a lingering. Yeah, it's a lingering
last season,
Tyler. And
Joel Embiid last season. What did Joel Embiid just win?
MVP.
I rest my case. No, I don't think it'll be too bad on him. I think, I think it happened early enough where we're like, all right, obviously his injury history is going to be a problem. I mean, I'm pretty sure he had the ACL.
Yeah, ACL
and
injury.
He's had some knee problems, but what do you want from the guy? The guy's 7'4" and he's skinny. I mean, he's going to run into health issues. He had his best season health-wise last year with the Wizards. So hopefully his injury's happening now and it won't during the season. He's obviously out of the FIBA Cup. He's not playing for Latvia.
Which honestly, I'm happy about. I'm glad he's not.
I'm happy he's not, because he's an injury-prone guy. I like it. Giannis is also sitting out. I thought that was pretty interesting. But, I don't think it's as big of a concern. But at the same time, we don't know how bad it actually is.
True.
So until we hear about that, I can't really make guaranteed case, but I think it happened early enough where we shouldn't have to worry about it too much. Maybe he'll be limited, like literally Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow had a pretty the calf strain. It usually holds people back a lot, but it happened so early. You're fine. I think, we go hand in hand. So we'll see. But I like Porzingis. I think he's going to bring a lot to the table this year. So I'm excited for that.
Absolutely, Tyler. Well, we are unfortunately now down to the wire, which means that we're going to wrap up what we talked about in this episode and send you guys on your way. I love the enthusiasm, Tyler, as
Wrap
always.
it up.
So we already talked about where you can find us. We discussed that earlier in the episode, so we're not going to go over that again. But on the episode today, we discussed Ezekiel Elliott signing with the New England Patriots, as well as breaking down all the latest from the Pats' first preseason game. In MLB news, we talked about the Orioles broadcaster Kevin Brown being instated following a bogus suspension, and then talked about Chris Sale making his return to the Red Sox rotation. We also finished things out talking about the fallout of the 76ers in Philly and Kristaps Porzingis with his injury concern right now, as he's suffering from a plantar fasciitis. Tyler, it's been great to do this again, man. I'm so glad we got to do this.
Dude, I'm happy. Thank you for having me on. I'm always down for a show. You know that. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man.
I had a good time. I had a great time.
And I'll be back on campus this fall. So it's going to be something that we can do. I will have at least some availability. I'm going to be working some games, but I'm definitely going to try to make some things work.
Brother. We'll make it work. We can definitely make it work.
Absolutely. So I'll be in contact with you, man. But thank you guys so much for
watching.
Send
me that video, my man. Send me that video.
I'm going to send it to you right after this. So
Perfect,
thank you guys so much for watching. But from Down to the Wire, I'm Brian Costa.
And I'm Tyler Stringfellow.
And we hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Take care. Peace out.